Like just like this, right here in the street. Injured. Not moving. One of them barely moving. We was just trying to enjoy the park. You know? It's supposed to be a good day.
The victim was identified as 39-year-old Tasha Hyman, who was sadly pronounced dead at the scene after succumbing to multiple gunshot wounds. Tasha was at her fiance's parents' home, celebrating the 4th of July holiday and having a good time. She would take to social media to go live throughout the night, commenting on the number of people who began showing up. What started off with a small gathering turned into a crowd of 200 to 300 people who took over multiple blocks on Castleman Street. Multiple people were shooting fireworks at neighboring houses, and drivers began doing donuts in the intersection of Castleman and Comanche Streets. It would be soon after this video that things would take a dark turn. According to Tasha's fiance, it appeared that nearby residents got tired of the noise from the cars and someone started shooting, and everyone outside began running and ducking. Tasha had gone into her fiance's mother's house to use the bathroom and had just come outside when the shooting started. Despite attempting to run away from the gunfire, Tasha was struck. Her lifeless body laid out on the ground amongst the hundreds of people running for cover. 2 more individuals were shot and suffered non-life-threatening injuries, while a 26-year-old male sadly passed away due to a medical emergency. 4th of July parties have been held in this neighborhood for years, with no previous incidents of violence. So what was different this time around? What really happened? Tasha's fiance was crushed. In an interview with the Star Telegram, he called Tasha his savior, describing her as the sweetest person on this earth and a cheerful and beautiful soul loved by many. In a shocking revelation, he described how much Tasha was there for him when his wife passed away from cancer 4 years ago. She was truly there for him, to help him get through one of the toughest times in his life. And now this, how could tragedy strike twice? It was something he struggled with and continues to struggle with. Tributes to Tasha poured in on social media with her fiance posting, "Rest in paradise to my baby," alongside a picture of the two. A representative from Slay by Shay took to Facebook with the following message. "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the passing of our beloved owner, Natasha. In light of this profound loss, we will be temporarily closed as we mourn and support her family during this difficult time. We kindly ask that you keep Natasha's family in your prayers."
In the Eastland neighborhood of Fort Worth at Castleman and Comanche, Lisbeth was with her family celebrating the 4th of July.
Like before everything started, they were already here.
Fort Worth police was already monitoring the area. They say 200 to 300 people took over the block.
I'm trying to show you all the people outside.
Just before midnight, the booming sound of fireworks was muted by gunfire. Half an hour before, Latasha Hyman was streaming live on Castleman Street. Family confirms the 39-year-old makeup artist and business owner was killed in the crossfire.
And her
cousin,
mm,
Pastor Felton Jenkins,
it's a different kind of pain.
spends every day fighting to stop gun violence, but this time,
She's my angel.
the pain is personal.
Every time we see each other, it's a hug, it's a kiss, it's a smile, it's a small dance, you name it. We're going to cheer each other up. She was loved by everybody.
2 more shooting victims survived, and police say another person died after a medical emergency. At this point, there are multiple suspects, but no one is in custody.
They are cowards.
Jenkins and several community leaders want those who know something to come forward.
Come on forward.
They want to stop gun violence.
This is real. Stop these block parties.
They want to protect the youth.
To the point where you grow up with it, you kind of get used to it.
Hearing gunshots on her street is nothing new for Lisbeth.
I am so sorry. Like, my condolences go out to your family, your friends.
But she is disheartened. Celebration turned to sorrow.
Police believe there are multiple suspects in the case, but have not identified persons of interest. Family, friends, and the community are encouraging anyone with information to come forward. The case remains ongoing.
Nigga talking about police, my nigga. The police. Them niggas talking firecrackers. They done pulled up with the ride girl. They throwing fireworks at the police, man. Councilman done did it again. Councilman done did it again.
Oh, man.
Councilman done did it again. They trying to move closer and closer. Man. The police done pulled up. Tried to shut the spot down, y'all. The poor police done pulled up on us and riot girl. Trying to shut us down. Trying to shut down the festivities.
Killed over chicken. Welcome killed over chicken.
For real. No, for real. The SWAT done come out on us, cuz. The SWAT done come out. They come outside on us, bro. Damn. Ah, yeah, I know I seen him up there. Yeah, come on. You still man, they riot girl. Come on, it's a night riot girl, man. Say them hoes done pulled up on Casper in the riot girl, my nigga. Yeah. Man, y'all leave them folks alone, man. God damn. The block is hot, man. I swear to God. God damn, look, bro. Damn. Look, bro. Look, it's more and more of them hoes coming too. Look, they been coming something else. Them hoes coming, bro. Hey, come on this way. Come on. God damn. Wow, for real, them hoes so bad. Say they fit to it. On my mama, they fit to it. Look at these hoes, bro.
More than 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers like Sylvia, owner of You Simply Season.
So it's been about 2 weeks or so since the whole situation with Julio went down. A sad situation to say the least, but Julio's biggest ops, ATK, was finding themselves online doing some celebrating, saying that, they won the beef. And people online were pretty quick to point out that, ATK is celebrating now, but most of their music careers were built off the back of this beef. So now that their biggest op was gone, who they gonna diss? And pretty much what people were saying was, ATK is up right now, but pretty much when everybody forgets about this beef. Then what? Who ATK gonna diss? Who Young and Ace gonna make songs about? And it looks like we recently got the answer because it seems like ATK from Young and Ace may have found their newest biggest in a no jumper employee that y'all know as Brick Baby. Now, like I said, Julio, we got about 2 weeks ago. And if you're in hip hop and haven't heard this story, I guess you just been living up under a rock with Passion Star because every single hip hop media outlet covered this, including me, extensively. Now, we was watching the Instagram posts, we was watching the YouTube videos, we were keeping an eye out for anything nefarious that may have been going down following Julio's death. And we've seen a lot develop. We've seen Julio's account stay active. We've seen the funeral take place. We've seen Young and Ace drop 2 songs. Both started trending on YouTube. Number 1 and number 2. We heard about the guy down there in Jacksonville. Fizzle, I think his name was. I made a video about it. He got hit shortly after Julio did, and people were saying that was linked to it in some kind of way. But aside from that, one guy in that one story, we haven't really seen what anybody could really call get that taking place. Or thought, or maybe we just wasn't looking hard enough because Brick Baby recently went on an episode of No Jumper, and while on that podcast, he said that since Julio's situation went down, at least 6 bodies have been dropped in Jacksonville on Young and Ace's side.
We're not going ATK KTA today.
Oh,
That was last week. Yeah, it's been like bodies dropping. Like we might need to double back.
I haven't been 100% tuned in. So what? There's a shitload of Florida bloodshed going on.
A lot of what's the Young Ace boys? Yeah, been dropping like 6, 7.
Now, that was a pretty simple statement, and to be fair, they did move right past this. Like, they didn't even acknowledge really that Brick Baby had just said this, but that was the people in the interview. The internet did take note of what Brick Baby said. No cap, it made some people mad. They was like, listen, if it got dropped, I think we would have heard about it. You can't just say that and then not give no details, not give no names, not provide no proof, because without those things, it sounds like just speculation and a lie. And it didn't take long for people from Young and Ace's camp to start responding. So this dude ATK Gleesy, he went on Instagram, he posted on his story a bunch of laughing emojis and said, "Lost 6, what? Y'all podcasters are insane with the lies." And then just to clarify who he was talking about, he posted a screenshot of Brick Baby in the interview with the quote that said, "And this stuff is cap." So like I said, they was quick to, notice what Brick Baby said and call him out on it, but Queasy wasn't the only one because Fallout Sosa, which is Queso's big brother. If y'all don't know who Queso is currently locked up. He's in jail for apparently catching to at Brick Baby at No Jumper. Little bruh, focus on Cali. Ain't nobody died this way since that goofy died. That was some real goofy. We can't be messed with. We come to this, it's merged. And basically, he's just telling Brick Baby, "Hey, bro, why don't you stay over here in your lane and worry about what's going on in Cali? Don't be coming over here putting your face in the South business." He also posted this up that says, "Laughing out loud, I guess we lost people since 6 died. That's so bullshit. Every day y'all come up with something new. If we lost 6 people, Julio in the studio finna drop a diss song, and no rule worked for him." And in case y'all are lost a little bit on that, after Julio passed, it was on his Instagram account talking about "My grandma does voodoo. I'm coming back from dead. I'm still alive." And it was all basically saying that it was because of some voodoo. This dude is saying that the chances of them losing 6 people is about the same as the chances of that being true. And the internet also got on Brick Baby's top about this comment, and he pretty much responded by saying, "Look, I must have watched the clickbait YouTube video that had that information in it. I was on the podcast just trying to start a conversation," and he could have just left it at that. But this Brick Baby, we talking about Crash Out King, Mr. Reckless himself, so he didn't just leave it at that. Instead, he decided to go on a rant on live and get to talking crazy.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Boy, this industry beef shit just getting out of hand.
First and foremost, I'll never hit Florida without Jacksonville. Point blank period. So
Big baby.
they don't want to hear all that tough ass. Second of all, Jacksonville ain't nothing but this big. I have been, check my resume. I didn't been to jail right there in Jasper, Virginia, on the hood, Hamilton County Jail. It's been there. Come on, bro. Stop playing before I hire your OGs to come black money you. Stop playing, bro. On the hood. I watched the clickbait YouTube and I made a conversation. But guess what? LA don't gotta go to Florida. Guess what you Florida gotta do? You gotta go to Atlanta, you gotta go to LA, you gotta go to New York, you gotta go everywhere with a gangland. Gotta watch your mouth for it really get to smushing on shit. Every time I say something, I say shout out to ATK, KTA, whatever the going on. I'm from RSC, Ruthless, Stainless, Crafty. Dead homies and you they can't come down here no more. Hey, none of you can come down here for BET, Grammys, anything until you clear that shit up on the internet and spike it. Dead homies.
Well, God dang, that went from 0 to 100 real quick. But as I said in the clip, baby, he basically says y'all banned from LA until y'all get on the internet, clear my name. He said I was trying to be friendly and show love, but y'all on there. Yeah, so I'm with it. He claimed that he had been down there in Jacksonville, even though he said he was in Hamilton County and Jacksonville is Dubai. Anyway, he pretty much says if Youngin Ace or anybody in Youngin Ace's crew pops up in California until they clear it up, it's smoke. It's up. He also says that he ain't above getting one of them whacked, which is crazy behavior. But Brick ain't 100% right in his rant because he said, well, guess what I don't gotta do? I don't gotta go to Jacksonville. Y'all do gotta come to LA. And man, I just gotta say, Brick, let's not sit around and act like the South ain't been running the rap game for a hot minute now. Aside from a couple of drill rappers blowing up, bro, ain't nobody outside the South running this game, bro. Like, we don't got to leave the South to be successful, fam. The South been had his foot in the game with or without the West and East Coast. Like Jacksonville got it popping, Memphis got it popping, Atlanta got it popping, the whole state of Texas got it popping. Like, I don't know what Rick Baby think this is, bro, but we do not got to come to the West Coast to be successful in rap. Like, he pretty much is on here saying, like, y'all know how we get down out here in Cali. And all I got to say to that is, bro, and you know how we get down in the South. The hell? I went to LA about a year ago. I went out to LA. You know what? I ain't have a strap on me the whole time I was in LA. I was safe as hell. You come down here to the South, bro, you not safe unless you have a strap because everybody down here got one. They got multiple. Anyways, I'm from the South, so I kind of took a little offense to that, but it's the truth. They think because of the South.
I'm so sick of this. These motherfuckers just want beef for no reason, kill each other for no reason, fight for no reason. Light up.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the channel. You're watching Project Dark Knight Horror, and I am your host, The Dark Knight. Today, we're focusing on the scariest found footage. We're going to take a deep dive into the world of the lost tapes.
Spinner beans, promises of retaliation.
What's up with it? You watching that thing? Why you need to stay with me? Why you had to leave, baby?
Everyone is talking about Fulio's death, and the buzz isn't just among us.
It's July 21st, 2017, and this is 18-year-old Obdulia Sanchez, live on Instagram while speeding down California roads. In the back seat is her 14-year-old sister Jacqueline, and Jacqueline's girlfriend, Manuela Sell. Neither has their seatbelt fastened. What was causing camera next but enraged the public and horrified those unfortunate enough to see it. But before we show you the disturbing footage, we're going to see how the one behind the wheel arrived at this vehicle. moment, and whether her troubled past affects your perspective.
We begin with a complicated issue in the New Jersey jail system.
You won't believe what damaged the aircraft's landing gear during a failed landing attempt, and the pilot was getting ready to make an emergency landing at the Raleigh-Durham International Airport. After indicating that he was feeling nauseous, Crooks then shot up out of his seat, said, "I'm sorry," and damaged the aircraft's landing gear during a failed landing attempt, and the pilot was getting ready to make an emergency landing at the Raleigh-Durham International Airport. After indicating that he was feeling nauseous, Crooks then shot up out of his seat, said, "I'm sorry," and disappeared out of the back of the plane. The pilot in command frantically told air traffic control that Crooks had just jumped out of the plane without a parachute and had to land the aircraft by himself. Charles's body was discovered in a family's backyard in the Fuquay Marina, and the National Transportation Safety Board launched an immediate investigation. The surviving pilot told investigators that Crooks had been noticeably upset and apologetic shortly before getting out of his seat, but the agency concluded that there wasn't enough information to indicate that he purposefully jumped out of the plane. In a final report, the NTSB was unable to distinguish whether Crooks left the aircraft intentionally or if he simply fell out after opening a hatch to vomit outside. His death was ultimately blamed on his decision to leave his seat, and nobody will ever know what was going on in his mind in the moments leading up to his death. 16. Baltimore Bridge Collapse. A 95,000-ton or 86,200 metric ton cargo ship called the Dolly suddenly lost power around 1:30 in the morning while navigating in Maryland's Patapsco River in March 2024. The captain of the 980-foot-long, 300-meter ship called out for a tugboat to help him, prompting police on both sides of the nearby Francis Scott Key Bridge to stop traffic in both directions. Less than 3 minutes later, the captain sent out a sudden mayday signal. The Dolly was heading straight toward the bridge, and the ship's crew had zero control over its movement. There was nothing they could do to stop the ship from hitting one of the bridge's pillars dead on.
You live stream now, we live chat. That's wicked. Man. I appreciate the one viewer. Talk to me, I talk back.
We're going to volunteer to go back to slavery. Wow. We're going to volunteer. Then we didn't need a job.
You making me feel that I got so much more work. I'm about to cry and everything, get to work. This is beautiful. I'm like so upset now. I'm so upset. Alright, y'all. So I am so pumped up, you guys. I have what you guys may consider the most infamous person on the internet right now. I think he's the most famous person on the internet that's rattling you guys feathers and holding you guys accountable to your nonsense. Some of you call him the Dick Gregory of our time. Some of you call him the Martin Luther King or the Malcolm X, whatever you consider him to be. Guys, help me welcome Charleston White on the show. Hey, Charleston, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Mama, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like so pumped up to have you here because you are like a struggle starter, but you're not starting trouble. You're really talking some truth. And people that cannot get past the boisterousness, the loud, the talk, the person you consider your personality, don't really get to who Charleston White is. So if you don't know, I'm going to ask you quite a bit of questions about Black people, finance, and all of that stuff. And I'm just curious to see what your input is going to be. So look, we're going to rock it out from here. So my first question to you is, right now it's so many Black on Black killings. It's so many.
KT tape helps relieve common pain and soreness from exercise.
A worker in Taiwan snuck into the pipe. A horrifying video that went viral. A tragic moment when 50-year-old construction worker Zen was sucked into a water pipe, leading to his death. It was around 11:30 a.m. on a seemingly normal workday in the Tanai district. Zen and his team were tackling a challenging task for the Taiwan Water Corporation, replacing an old, problematic pipeline. The job was fraught with difficulties, and tensions were high as the crew worked meticulously. Zen, a seasoned worker with years of experience, had been assigned a critical task. He needed to knock out a 60x40 rectangle piece on the pipe surface, a section that one of his co-workers had already cut. This process, known as bleeding, was essential to release trapped air from the pipeline. As Zen positioned himself, he began to strike the pipe with his hammer, each blow echoing through the site. His co-workers watched intently, aware of the risks but trusting in Zen's expertise. Finally, after several powerful hits, the pipe gave way. In an instant, the routine job turned into a nightmare. Zen lost his balance, his body teetering precariously over the newly created hole. The next few seconds felt like an eternity. Despite his desperate attempt to hold himself up, the relentless suction force from the vacuum inside the pipe overpowered him. He was pulled in feet first, vanishing into the dark, confined space. Panic erupted among his co-workers. Shouts for help filled the air as they scrambled to save Zen. They knew the dangers all too well. The crushing pressure of the water, the confined space, the near impossible odds of survival. They worked frantically, their hands shaking, trying to reverse the catastrophic events. Inside the pipe, the pressure was immense, likely breaking Zen's bones and rendering him unconscious almost immediately. Despite the crew's heroic efforts, it was a race against time. They managed to extract Zen from the pipeline, his lifeless body a stark contrast to the chaos around him. He was rushed to the hospital, but the grim reality set in quickly. Zen was pronounced dead upon arrival. The incident sent shockwaves through the community and the construction industry. Mike's story features the harrowing situation of him getting trapped in a storm drain during a flood that I would wish never happens again. In June 2007, Yorkshire experienced unprecedented rainfall, resulting in one of the worst floods. It was the region's wettest month since 1882, leading to catastrophic flooding of 10,000 homes and businesses and causing extensive damage worth thousands of pounds. Amidst the chaos, 28-year-old Mike Barnett took his day off to assist his elderly boss in keeping the floodwater out of their shop on June 25th. This truly shows Mike's character, and he was described by his father as a man who would do anything to help other people. Once he arrived at the shop, he decided to clear out a drain outside of the shop. It had been covered in debris, blocking the water from entering. He made his way slowly to the drain, which was hard to see.
threw me off that easy now. I guess we got to share that. We sharing this with. You know what I'm saying? I just want to know where I want to know who I'm cracking so bad. Like, why? So y'all can go crack them after me. Is that what?
Got them cash apps, y'all. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna pause it for y'all real quick so y'all can try to read that. I don't understand nothing this is saying. Brown. I just see police placing knife.
Stupid. Knock that is out. He's still blinking at me. He's exactly what's that.
Wingsuit flying is actually safer than it might seem. Don't believe me? Watch till the end. In 2017, Fred Fugan and Vince Raffet performed a mind-blowing
Over 200 5-star reviews. Shop Old Spice.
Cascade Platinum Plus gives you the highest standard of clean, even in your machine. Dare to dish differently.
stunt where they jumped from the Jungfrau Mountain in the Swiss Alps and flew into a moving Pilatus Porter aircraft. Then there's the Italian wingsuit legend, Robert Mancino, who successfully flew a wingsuit between two office buildings in Panama City in 2015. Guess where I found these incredible stories? That's right, on the websites of companies that specialize in wingsuit flying experiences. But of course, beyond the wild adrenaline rush and amazing views, nowhere did these websites mention the dark side of wingsuit diving. For every flyer who has glided through the clouds, there are many stories of those who never made it back to ground safely. You'll forget about the thrill of slicing the air at terminal velocity when you realize how quickly things can go wrong. As always, viewer discretion is advised. This video has garnered attention worldwide as it captured a truly jaw-dropping moment. On September 29, 2016, Eric Dos Santos, a seasoned wingsuit pilot, embarked on what was supposed to be a routine flight through the French Alps. At the start of the video where Eric is about to take off, everything looks normal in an adventure that was anything but ordinary. With his helmet camera rolling, he even bid a casual au revoir before taking off, unaware of the dramatic turn his flight was about to take.
Hey, au revoir.
As he soared over the snow-capped mountains and jagged cliffs, the camera captured a roller coaster-like descent towards a lush green forest. The beauty of the scene was mesmerizing, with Eric's shadow tracing his path below. A calm, serene picture of the daring dance between man and nature. However, just 51 seconds into the flight, the narrative took a heart-stopping twist. Eric lost his altitude rapidly and unexpectedly. In one moment, what should have been a routine flight almost became an obituary. This footage, directly from Eric's point of view, shows him navigating just above the treetops at an astonishing speed of over 90 miles per hour. As Eric begins to slow down, losing speed and altitude, the absolute worst happens. He collides with a treetop while still cruising at high speed. His camera catches the terrifying moment just before impact, before going black. Somehow Eric miraculously survived this encounter, but the toll on his body was substantial. The fall left him with fractures in his left shoulder blade, the top of his left shoulder, his left collarbone, and 3 ribs on his left side. He also had a bruised neck, a cut liver, head injuries, and several cuts on his head. He even needed a hyperbaric chamber to aid his recovery from the head injuries. But still, he was ridiculously lucky to survive a wingsuit crash at full flight speed without deploying a parachute. Eric is only the second person in the world known to have survived such a devastating accident. Wingsuit flying like Eric involves wearing a specially designed suit It has nylon membranes stretching between the arms, legs, and body, creating aerodynamic surfaces that allow the flyer to glide through the air horizontally, mimicking the graceful flight of birds or bats. Wingsuit flying is especially popular among base jumpers, who seek the purest form of flight without the need for an airplane. Instead, they climb to high elevations like cliffs or tall platforms and jump directly into the air. Once airborne, controlling their flight path requires precise movements. Subtle shifts of their arms or legs can significantly alter their direction and stability. At the end of their flight, wingsuit flyers deploy a small parachute to safely reach the ground. While this might sound straightforward, the reality is that the technique for controlling a wingsuit is highly complex and requires a great deal of skill and practice. Many jumpers struggle with mastering this control, which is critical for safe flight. Even experienced flyers can face challenges due to the unpredictable nature of the sport, where small miscalculations can have serious consequences. It doesn't sound too hard, but in reality, a lot of divers and base jumpers have suffered precisely because they failed to manage this kind of steering. But of course, not all stories of flying in the clouds end with a miracle like Eric Dos Santos. In 2018, Amy Jean St. Hilaire Adam, a 27-year-old elite jumper from Canada, was participating in the Wide Open Wingsuit Series. The competition draws the world's most skilled wingsuit pilots, who don high-performance wingsuits to race each other through the sky. On that fateful day, Amy Jean was racing against another jumper when a catastrophic collision between them occurred in midair. One of the hosts of the competition recalled, "They exited on the jump, and he and another jumper lost sight of each other at a moment of instability and had a collision. If they had gone by each other 1 foot apart, they would have missed each other completely, and it would have been a non-incident. It was just a combination of different things and bad luck that led to it. All the wrong things happened just at the wrong time and the wrong place." Rendered unconscious by the collision, he was unable to pull the ripcord on his chute. Without the ability to deploy his parachute, he plummeted more than 100 miles per hour, crashing onto the roof of a home in Riverside County, 70 miles east of Los Angeles, California. The impact was devastating. M.A. Jean, known for his more than 1,000 successful jumps, a respected figure in the wingsuit world, well celebrated for his daring and skill, passed away.
His head was down, arms dangling, legs dangling. He had a glider suit on, but his emergency chute or something deployed last second, but he didn't do anything to do that.
Sadly, when something goes wrong during a jump, all that skill, experience, past records, all that goes out the window. The primary danger in wingsuit flying, losing control, isn't quite something you can train for, and jumpers who find themselves in that state survive purely on the whims of the winds, their surrounding, and the altitude at which they lost control. Wingsuit flyers at peak altitude typically reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour. At these speeds, any impact with a solid object, be it the ground or a structure, is extremely severe. The human body is not built to withstand impacts at these high velocities without severe injury or fatality. For Amy Jean, the mid-air collision that knocked him out cold made him a flying human meteor. Even if he was awake and alert, the chances of surviving a crash at such speeds was already razor thin. But unconscious, he had no chance. In a very real sense, that collision sealed his fate. He was gone before he hit the ground. And just like that, a sport that thrives on adrenaline and precision reminded us of its razor-thin margins for error. On July 27, 2018, the skies over Boulogne-Quercy, France, bore witness to a tragic and unusual accident that led to multiple court cases and an actual conviction.
Febreze. I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to working from home, I gotta have every part of my house clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze air mist to leave every room smelling fresh and clean. With that done, it's time to get to work.
Nicholas Galley, at 40 years old, was an accomplished wingsuit diver whose passion for sky-high adventures was well known within the extreme sports community. On that ordinary day, Nicholas embarked on what was supposed to be another thrilling dive from 14,000 feet. Nicholas had leaped from a single-engine Pilatus plane, a common choice for wingsuiters. The dive began routinely.
Decompressed violently in an instant, the 6 men of the Dolphin oil rig found themselves in history's most gruesome diving accident. What began as a routine saturation dive ended up in absolute horror. However, only one would make it out, and not without severe injuries. On Saturday, November 5th, 1983, while drilling in the Frigg gas field in the Norwegian sector of the North Sea, the divers Roy P. Lucas, Edwin Coward, Truls Hellevik, and Bjorn Ivar Bergeson were tasked with maintenance deep beneath the rig. Assisting them were 2 brave dive tenders, William Crammond and Martin Saunders. Truls Hellevik and Bjorn Bergeson descended to a depth of 295 feet for maintenance on the bottom frame of the drilling structure. The ability to reach such depths were made possible through the use of a diving bell, which could be connected to a set of chambers where the divers temporarily lived. Unlike other divers, they spend up to 28 days in a cramped, high-pressure chamber, working, eating, and sleeping. On the Byford Dolphin, the oil company expected the divers to work long 18-hour shifts on barely 3 hours worth of sleep before forcing them to work again. The pay was excellent, often averaging $30,000 to $45,000 per month. But the work environment was claustrophobic and challenging. The oil rig relied on hundreds of crew members to work very hard at the same time, but they had no idea what was about to happen. The 4 divers' routine procedures would soon become a nightmare. As they entered the pressurized living chambers, the bell chambers consisted of Chamber 1, Chamber 2, an escape capsule attached on top of a lifeboat, and a trunk that was connected to the diving bell. The bell would then clamp onto this trunk as the 2 diving tenders, William Crammond and Martin Saunders, operated it from the outside on the rig. The pressurized chambers were stationed on the rig, while the diving bell could be separated to descend to the required depth. This setup allowed for the optimal utilization of time and resources, streamlining the transition between the high-pressure underwater environment and the pressurized living quarters. When diving below the surface of the water, pressure is a diver's worst enemy. Ambient pressure increases by approximately 1 atmosphere for every 33 feet of water depth. Each additional atmosphere adds a crushing force equivalent to 14.6 pounds per square meter on the body. The main issue with diving is not descending to high pressures, but returning from those depths. When submerged deep enough, the increasing water pressure causes nitrogen helium to dissolve into the bloodstream, saturating it in proportion to the rise in pressure. This saturation occurs as the divers breathe a specialized mixture of gases inside the chambers, typically including helium and oxygen, known as heliox. This mixture is adjusted based on the depth of the dive, hence the term saturation diving. If divers resurface too quickly, the rapid pressure release leads to decompression sickness, or the bends. The condition forces the dissolved nitrogen in the bloodstream to become a gas again, forming nitrogen bubbles throughout the body. The bends can cause nausea, dizziness, severe joint pain, paralysis, and even death. The only way to prevent decompression sickness is to cautiously return to the surface, allowing sufficient time for the nitrogen to diffuse naturally. However, the oil industry isn't known for its patience. On this routine day, the life support technicians ensured that the air composition in the hyperbaric chambers matched what the divers needed to breathe underwater. At the same time, the dive control team operated the diving bell, which they raised and lowered on a crane as they monitored the divers' activities. At 4 a.m., Truls Hellevik and Bjorn Bergeson had just completed their maintenance work at a pressure of 9 atmospheres required for a depth of 295 feet and ascended back to the surface using the diving bell. Reaching the surface, the diving bell needed to be reattached to the diving chambers, both operating at the same atmospheric pressure. Meanwhile, on the surface, Roy Lucas and Edwin Coward were resting, ready to take over the next shift when Truls and Bjorn returned. One of the most crucial roles in saturation diving belongs to the tenders, who assist with deploying and retrieving the umbilical. The umbilical is the physical lifeline of the divers, a thick communication surface. In the past, tenders were also responsible for docking the diving bell to the pressurized living chambers, as was the case on the Byford Dolphin. The tenders hold the lives of their diving comrades in their hands. However, they were already working for over 12 hours. The two experienced tenders, William Crammond and Martin Saunders, were ready to connect the diving bell back onto the hyperbaric living chambers as Truls Hellevik and Bjorn Bergeson returned from the depths. Crammond successfully connected the diving bell to the living chambers and safely deposited Bjorn Bergeson and Truls Hellevik in Chamber 1. This diving team had repeatedly performed the process and knew it by heart. Under normal circumstances, depositing divers into the rest area and removing the diving bell was reasonably straightforward. It goes like this. 1. Close the diving bell door, which would have been open to the trunk. 2. Slightly increase the pressure in the diving bell to seal the bell door tightly. 3. Close the Chamber 1 door, which was also open to the trunk. 4. Slowly depressurize the trunk until it reaches a pressure of 1 atmosphere. 5. Open the clamp to separate the diving bell from the chamber system. Suddenly, all hell broke loose. Crammond opened the clamp, causing a chain reaction that violently decompressed the chambers. The diving bell disconnected before the chamber doors fully closed, releasing an explosive depressurization. The pressure differential tore through the living chambers, yanking Hellevik off his feet as it indiscriminately rampaged around the deck. The air pressure inside the bell instantly shifted from 9 atmospheres, the pressure experienced while 297 feet below the water, to 1 atmosphere, the average air pressure at the surface. The explosive rush of air out of the chamber sent heavy diving bell flying. The diving bell struck Crammond and Saunders, critically wounding them. Either Crammond disconnected the diving bell without receiving an order to do so, or the diving leader ordered the coupling lock to be removed despite the tunnel still being pressurized. Crammond ultimately succumbed to his injuries. Although Saunders survived his injuries, he didn't walk away unscathed. When crew members found him in the aftermath, he was partially under the 4-ton diving bell. His lungs collapsed from his injuries. He also suffered from 3 fractures in his back and a broken neck. But the fate of the 4 divers inside was far worse. While it's impossible to confirm this, the speed of the violent and unplanned decompression gave the 4 divers an instant and painless death. Decompression like this is a death sentence, and no one would or could survive. One difference between the recent Ocean Gate disaster and the Byford Dolphin incident is that the divers' remains weren't lost to the sea. Knowing what precisely happened to these poor, unfortunate souls provides little comfort, and very real images of the torture their bodies went through, which can still be found in the official reports of the incident. The divers never once realized what happened to them, nor felt the terrible effects of their horrible deaths. Despite their proximity to the door, Lucas, Coward, and Bergerson's blood boiled instantly in their bodies as enormous amounts of dissolved nitrogen suddenly returned to their gaseous state. The divers died instantly. Fat accumulated and solidified in their arteries, veins, hearts, and livers. The explosion of force from the gas expansion scattered the blood and the bodies of the divers throughout the inside of the chamber. While the events left Lucas, Bergerson, and Coward unrecognizable, Hellevik suffered the worst death since he was the closest to the connecting door. The pressure equalization caused the door to Chamber 1 to partially jam, causing Hellevik's body to be forced through a small 24-inch crescent-shaped opening with a tremendous force of 25 tons. Unable to fit through, the sheer pressure resulted in the horrifying outcome of his internal organs bursting out of his body through the opening. During the examination, investigators found Hellevik's spinal column, part of his windpipe, and some of his small intestine left behind inside the bell. His other organs looked intact, almost as if they were harvested. In the end, the incident resulted in a total fatality count of 5, and the brutality of the accident left little blood behind, despite the shredded state of the divers' bodies. At first, people were quick to blame the crew, a potential miscommunication, or poor routines as the causes of the accident. The crew worked over 12 hours on many occasions. A mistake could have easily happened. However, no one could identify the exact factors behind the decision to unlatch the system incorrectly and expose everyone to such horrible deaths. And with Crammond having passed away, the true reason for him opening the clamp was forever lost. To minimize the considerable risks, only flawless execution of every operation detail, most importantly the pressure-driven transfer, can help crews avoid this catastrophic outcome. However, the North Sea Divers Alliance, a group of activists made up of active divers and the victims' relatives, believed that negligent higher-ups issued the Byford dolphin divers faulty equipment. They maintained that the pressure chamber system was obsolete, lacking the necessary fail-safes to prevent the disaster. It's important to mention that the crew's equipment during the operation was from 1975 and didn't have modern fail-safe features. One key missing feature was an interlocking mechanism, which would have prevented Crammond from opening the trunk while the bell was still under pressure. As a result, officials revised Norwegian regulations to mandate interlock mechanisms for all bell systems. Still, many people believe the sole cause of the accident was the locking mechanism. Regrettably, it took decades for the Norwegian government, which was in charge of the Byford Dolphin in 1983, to acknowledge their responsibility for the incident and compensate the families of the deceased men. It was only in 2009 that the government provided undisclosed settlements to the families of all 6 victims, including Saunders. According to the report, faulty equipment caused the accident rather than human error. In addition to faulty equipment, the loud environment interfering with communications and unclear orders contributed to the accident. The Byford Dolphin rig was a prominent fixture in offshore drilling for over 4 decades, operating in various locations worldwide. By 2016, they decommissioned the Byford Dolphin rig, ending the saga in the oil and gas industry.
What you bring up? You bring up nothing. Smell something burnt. I ain't even hitting nothing.
Timothy Treadwell watched his torn-off arm while the enraged grizzly sank its teeth. Timothy Treadwell watched his torn-off arm while the enraged.
With verified reviews, I was relaxed before I even got here.
Timothy Treadwell watched his torn-off arm while the enraged grizzly sank its teeth into him. Screams of his girlfriend, Amy Huguenot, echoed in his head. Both became victims of a merciless predator, devouring them alive. Slow death is the scariest thing imaginable, but on the pain scale, crafted from scientific studies, being eaten alive only rates points. Meanwhile, the most horrifying death is estimated at 140. Stick around until the end to find out what hits that maximum mark. But I warn you, viewer discretion is advised. On October 11, 2012, workers at a seafood processing plant in Santa Fe Springs sounded the alarm. Their colleague, 62-year-old Jose Molina, had vanished suddenly. After nearly 90 minutes of searching, the boiler operator suggested opening the last loaded oven. Inside, they cooked and sterilized the tuna at high temperatures. Workers